Hello Fun Army and welcome back to Life and Other Circus Skills. Today we're going to be starting work, well, starting and completing. I am going to be making my Halloween costume. It's been many years since I've actually made a Halloween costume. But now that I've started this whole sewing malarkey, it seemed inexcusable not to have some part of it be, I guess, a pillar in time of the progress. No, a pillar in time on my journey towards being able to sew stuff. So I've got, with this sort of cosplay dream of mine, I've got a whole lot of things I would love to make, but my current experience level would not get me anywhere near where I want to go right now. So I was just having a think, and I'm not really sure what triggered the idea actually, but I suddenly thought, ooh, wouldn't it be cool to make like a Sorcerer's Apprentice outfit? Like, as in like a Mickey Sorcerer's Apprentice outfit. Because you've got the red... Now, I was looking at these pictures, right, and I can't tell exactly what to call his redness. Like, it's not quite a cloak, it's not quite a cowl, it's a red outfit. A red wraparound outfit. So yeah, anyway, I kind of felt like, okay, I have an idea of that thing and what I'd like it to look like. And then, if I put these in the right place, these can be ears. And then I make the hat. I think otherwise then it would just be sort of black tights for Mickey legs, some gold shoes, which I already have, and then some gold or yellow cord just to kind of tie the whole thing together because he does have a rope around his waist. And that's it. But it also felt like it was still going to be enough of a challenge sewing wise to help me progress along my journey. So yeah, that's where we're at. I have purchased some fabric, some in bright red, some in bright blue. And the next step will be obviously to make myself a pattern. I'm actually, and I'm not sure if the fact that I had this and I looked at it led me to the idea, or whether I was trying to figure out what I had that I could draw around that might be useful once I'd had the idea. I can't remember the order of thoughts. But I have, again, I don't know what is up with words and me at the moment, but like, I guess you'd call it like a house coat. It's basically, when I was in Japan, I went to the shop where they sold kimonos and all kinds of things like that. And it's not quite a kimono, it's more, I would call it like a kimono style house coat. So it's basically just a coat shaped piece of fabric. Effectively it just kind of goes out. There are then big kimono style sleeves, and then it goes down again. And you just literally tie a belt around the waist to hold it together. So that actually kind of felt pretty straightforward in terms of drawing around it. But, and this is where we're looking at the progress stuff, it does have separate sleeves. So dun dun dun, I'm going to learn how to attach sleeves, or I'm at least going to try and figure out how to attach sleeves. Because as far as I'm aware, sleeves are like the thing you add on after you've sewn the other bits together. So, and there are like different techniques for doing that, and I don't know if there's a particular one I'm supposed to use for this. So if I've got time, I'll look it up. If not, I'll make it up. So yes, next step will be then pattern for the main body back piece, and then same for the two front flaps. Best technical wording ever right now. And I think actually I probably only need one pattern piece for that. I just cut it out twice and then cut the bit for the front piece in halves, then you've got two flaps. Then I need a piece for the arms, and that should be it. I am pondering. So the housecoat actually has pockets, and I was like, oh, do you know what? It would be quite useful to have pockets. But, and actually looking at it, I can see how easy it would be to do pockets on this. But also, I'm a bit like, am I pushing myself a step too far trying to do pockets? Because I guess until you know where it lands when you wrap it around, you don't know quite where to position the pockets. Or I can just do some measurement on the housecoat and see sort of roughly how far up the pockets were. I don't know. We'll see how I feel when we get to that point, I guess. Because then it's going to be logistical ordering of at what point do you sew in the pockets, at what point do you sew in the sleeves. We're just going to have to try it and see. And as you know, that's my favourite thing to do. I'm not good at following instructions, so I may as well just make it up as I go. So yeah, stay tuned. Let's get onto the pattern and the cutting stage, and then hopefully we can zoom on quite quickly to the sewing after that. See you in a bit. I'm quite exhausted from all this thinking. The ordering of this one is completely breaking my brain. There are so many more bits to this than just doing something like a t-shirt or like the water bottle, where yes, we did have an inside and outside, a strap, a fold over, a pocket, but the order felt a little bit more logical, whereas I'm really winging this one. So if I grab this here, made some little pockets, or rather cut out some pockets, and I've pinned those up, making sure I've pinned them on the 3 sides I'm going to sew, in the hope that I don't do that thing where I stop paying attention and just sew up all 4 sides. So I've got 2 of those, and I've pinned up the back section with the 2 front sections, which I'll just be sewing down the side. And again, I've left a hole for the arms, or sleeves, should I say. And then I've left a hole where I need to put the pockets. So first step, I think, then, is to sew the pockets, then add those into where I've pinned up, then sew straight down the sides. Now, I think, oh God, I need to figure out actually then which side the pockets need to be on, so that when I turn it the right way out, the pockets aren't on the outside, because that's so a thing I would do. I think then it's a case of sort of folding over all of the edges and doing the hemming jazz, maybe on the bottom and the front panels. So sort of getting that main piece done, but not the top side, and then or do we do the I've got hello, I've got the kimono house coat here, and I've just been looking at the inside of this, trying to figure it out. So if you can see this, so this is the sleeves, so it's sewn across the top, which is back panel to front panel, and then the sleeves come in about halfway down. So actually I can sew across, oh that's good, I'll pin that up in a minute then. I can sew across the top of the back panel and then the front panel. I thought there was going to have to be a lot more collar area, but actually then that just gives us a small collar area. So actually I can do all of that before then needing to put the sleeves in, because the sleeves don't touch anything. Don't know if you can see this very clearly. There we go. So this is the sleeve joining line. So it doesn't touch anything else other than that collective panel. So it's not attached to the main neckline in any other way other than inserting it on the side there. So yeah, I think then we basically complete everything we need to do on the back panel, the front panels, including all the hemming bits, including the collar. And when I say collar, just that bit that won't be sewn attached to anything else. So that'll be sort of a little fold over and a bit of top stitching, I think. Makes sense to me right now. We'll see what happens when I get to it. So yeah, do all of that, then the sleeves would be the last thing. And then I guess it doesn't really matter the ordering of when you hem the sleeves, because you could do that before or afterwards. So it sounds quite simple now I've said it out loud, and it looks quite simple now I've got some of the pieces put together, but it really did break my brain. So yeah, I think that's probably all I'm going to do for today, because that was exhausting. But yeah, I think then maybe tomorrow I'll kick off some of the sewing, starting with the pockets. So stay tuned for that. Okay, some good news. I found a tutorial on easy pockets. So what I have done, after pinning the back and the two front sides together, I have unpinned them, because we actually need to do the pockets in 4 separate bits. So what I have on the table before me is the back piece, and then I have, oh, sorry, it's in darkness right now. I have lined up then the pockets with each other on each side. So this is effectively one side of both of the pockets attached to the back piece. So we are going to sew down, so that is attached to the back, and then we take the side pieces and do the same thing on the side pieces. So I'm going to have to line up the side pieces with the back piece to get the pockets in the right place. We sew the other side, so the other two bits will attach to those front sides. So once I've got them lined up, and then I can pin everything back together again. And then as you sew the side, this is making sense. As you sew the side pieces on, instead of obviously sewing along where the pocket is, because by that point you'll have 2 pieces of pocket that you're sewing together, you then sew around the outside of the pocket. So it will effectively come, this fabric is so big it's really hard to show, but will effectively come down the side, attaching front pieces to back piece, and then when I get to the pocket, we'll turn right, create a right angle, and then go around the pocket and then reappear at the bottom end on the other side of the pocket. I'm obviously going to film it so you can see all of that. So and obviously I haven't done this yet, so I've just taken this from the tutorial I found on the YouTube. We're going to give it a go and hope that actually it all works. I hope I've got everything on the right side as well, because obviously all of this has to be on the, oh god, all of this has to be on the inside when we turn it right way out. And I'm now going like, have I put that on the right side? Because I know when I attach the front pieces to the back pieces, we'll then turn it in, and the pockets need to be on that inner side. So let's have a little quick test, shall we? If in doubt, try and literally figure it out. So, back piece, front piece, holding it together. So right now, that pocket would be on the inside. But once I've sewn the back piece to the front pieces, we'll turn it right way out, which put the pocket on the outside. So that's wrong. Oh, it's wrong in my mind. Obviously with the back piece right now, because it's the same on both sides, it doesn't matter which side I sew it. But when I then put them back together, I need to make sure that the pockets are on the inside. Okay, clear. It's going to be more difficult with the front pieces because obviously they're not a straight rectangle, they are slightly shaped. So I just need to make sure that I do that same test again before I sew the pocket onto the front pieces, and then all should be well. Wish me luck. This is definitely the most complicated thing we've done so far. Like, the overall theory is straightforward, and I have made it more complicated by deciding to try pockets at the same time as sleeves. Oh god, sleeves! No, it's okay. No. Oh yeah, when I... God. Because I was so clever with my original pinning. I'd gone all the way down, I'd left the appropriate gap for the sleeve, so I wasn't going to sew down it like I love to do, accidentally sewing up my sleeves. And then I'd left the hole for the pocket. But the minute I've had to take all the pins out, I've instantly forgotten that I need to leave that space for the sleeve. So you attach it, but you leave the hole for where you're going to insert the sleeve later. Okay. Oh my life, my brain. First step, sew one side of each pocket to the back piece. Got this! Okay, a lot of brain struggle later and I think we're there. I had to do the thing of like, well, this is where you'll sew it, but then because you fold it outwards, it's then these two outward sides that actually meet to become your pocket. So that really screwed with my brain. And I did a test and put the two foldy flaps together, so I know it's now on the right side. I just need to then test that again once I've sewn it so that I pin the front pieces now the right way around. It's just... Oh, like, is this any easier if you have a pattern? I'm not sure. Oh, and I was thinking like, you know, sewing pattern, but actually if you had a fabric pattern, this might, no, let me say that again. A patterned fabric, this might be a bit easier, and also one that had an obvious inside and outside. I'm basically working with two sides and a whole bunch of fabric that looks exactly the same, so I've probably just made life a lot more confusing for myself. But anyway, we've got the pockets in the right place. I'm now going to sew them, and then we can get back to pinning everything together, remembering to put in the armholes. I'm saying it out loud in the hope that you will somehow, like, psychically remind me when I get to that bit that I need to leave space for the armholes again. I'm zen. We can do this. Everything is going to be fine. Let's get with the sewing. Okay, so I think I finally got it pinned in the right direction. So we're pinned across the top, and that's the top of the shoulder piece right there. Then that's the gap that I've left for the sleeve. Woohoo! Then we start to sew the side. This is where the awesome pocket pieces come together. So you'll see that that's where we've sewn. And what I actually did was also press the sides of the pocket so that that's going to be flat when we turn it inside out, because as you know, we've flapped it over, if that makes sense. So when we see that on the other side, that's the pocket opening there. So we'll come down here, around here, and then all the way down to the bottom. And then we stop where the pins are. We don't sew up the bottom, she says, reminding herself. So I'm going to sew this side, test that it all kind of sits all right, and then we'll pin up the other side if that all goes well. Okay, so I think that went well. I'm now going to turn it right side out and see if it actually worked or not. Wish me luck. So the good news is that the pocket worked. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is the top. And here is our pocket. Yay! And it's all the right way out. But the bad news is, despite having marked it with pins, I sewed up the armhole again. What is wrong with me? Oh, so yeah, right here is the nice bit across the shoulder, and then right here is where the armhole should be, and I sewed right down. Everything's fine. I'm just gonna unpick it. But the good news is the pocket worked. And that's the most important thing right now. Then I've just got to do it all on the other side. Hopefully with less errors. Okay, I'll see you once I've finished unpicking this. Here we go, I've fixed it, look. Here's the armhole, everything's fine. Oh, God. Right, so the stand up. So this will come across like this because it's going to be like a crossover. And then, where's my pocket gone? There's the pocket! Yay! Boom. Okay. Oh, so now all I've got to do is replicate that on the other side minus the sewing up and unpicking of the armhole. Armhole not sewn up. Okay, both sides are now sewn up with pockets. So time to do another try on and just kind of see how that's sitting, and start to kind of figure out what the next step is. We've obviously got to do the sleeves. I'm pointing again at something you can't see, but that's the sleeves. So the sleeves have got to go on, and the bottom, the front sides, the neck, all of that has to be hemmed. So I think probably the sleeves need to happen first and then all the hemming. But I'm going to go and try this on, see how it feels, and see if I need to make any other adjustments before I do that. So this is how we're looking. Sweepy, sweepy, cloaky, cloaky. Oh, I'm a bit closer. So it's looking good in terms of the shape and the evenness on each side. Obviously when I do the hemming, like, these bits will get tucked under and then it would come across like this. So the other interesting thing is, you know, this is where the sleeves are supposed to start, but they're already like half sleeves. I think I'd left seam allowance for hemming that, forgetting that actually it's just seam allowance for sewing onto the rest of the sleeve. So I'm just going to go back to the kimono slash housecoat and see where this part of the shoulder stops there, to see if I'm sort of in a fairly similar position. Because really, this, like, I could just leave it like this and just hem the sleeves, but then the sleeves would be very short. So yeah, the sleeves sort of want to come down here a bit, so it's a bit more, you know, flappy Mickey style. So yeah, I think it's going to be fine. But it was just quite funny that it looked like sleeves without actually having sleeves anyway. So yeah, so good. It's actually a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if you can have There you go, that's the bottom. But again, we'll obviously pull up the hem, and if it still feels a bit too long, then I might just chop some of that off as I'm doing that as well. But yeah, no, otherwise, pretty happy with where we've gotten to so far. Who knew it was straightforward? Okay, so yes, next figure out the sleeve issue, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I think I figured it out. I should probably, like, at some point look up the official way of doing sleeves, but ultimately, she says, poking her finger through the hole. This is the shoulder seam here, so I've then just grabbed the wrong side of where I eventually left the hole for the sleeve, and then the wrong side of the sleeve fabric, and I've pinned that all the way around. And then we've also then got the bit where the sleeve fabric joins underneath the arm. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to sew back that way and then around the circle. I'm definitely not good at sewing round circles, so I'm going to take that slowly and probably have to make some adjustments as I get to that bit where all three seams meet. But otherwise, I feel like we're getting there. We've got, aside from once we get the other sleeve on as well, then that's all the main pieces on the cloak wrap, or whatever we're calling this. And then it's just doing all the finishings. So yeah, let's get to the sewing. So, after making a semi-pig's ear of sleeve 1, I'm now going to attempt sleeve 2. I've tried to rectify some of the issues by chopping off the excess fabric in advance. Hopefully I didn't chop off too much. So otherwise I'm going to follow the same process, but yeah, not then start snipping into the corners. And just, yeah, generally making it look like someone's chewed on it. So here we go. Fingers crossed it comes out better this time. But you know what? Next project I might actually look up how to do sleeves. Not everything works when you just try and wing it. Just saying. Just saying. So I'm not gonna lie, I fudged it. It was better than the other one, it was, but I did get a little bit tangled up. Like, it all kind of like came into a little pucker. It's that bit where all of the seams join, so the bit between the armhole and the sleeve and the join of the sleeve, like it's all three seams come together in a corner. And like, when you're going to sew it down, it looks like you've completely made sense of it, and then you turn it inside out and it's gone, and then you turn it back in, you turn it the right way around, it's gone, and then you turn it back inside out, and then it looks like that on the inside as well, and you're like, it didn't look like that when I sewed it. So I had to do a little bit of unpicking and then very tiny bits of sewing to get it roughly where I need it to be. So we're there or thereabouts. Next up then we'll be doing all of the hemming and finishing, and just kind of doing some final fittings to make sure it works the way I want it to work for when I'm going to tie the cord round and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be adjustments adjustments to the neckline and things like that, I think, a little bit, but we are very close now. I am pleased I built in the pockets, they're landing where I want them to, so that is good. Yeah, so stay tuned for the next part. Okay, so I've now gone all the way around all of the edges and tucked in the bits that I'm going to hem, also under, etc. So that's part of the neckline, all the way down the front, all the way down the bottom, and the sleeves. I think that's everything. There was a lot of pinning. I basically used all but one of my pins. Well, in this packet anyway. I seem to have like at least 27 packets of pins, because of course, that's what you just need in life. So yeah, so it's all pinned up. Not entirely sure what side I'm going to start on, but the plan is now to just sew round it all, because this is the last piece of this particular puzzle. And then we move on to trying to figure out the hat. So yeah, let's sew away! I actually forgot to say that I had pressed all of these down, hilariously after pinning them. I pinned, then I pressed. That was fun. But yeah, so that's just helping to keep everything flat and keep the edges as sharp as possible. Okay, so I'm now sat here with my fabric and my actual mouse ears to try and figure out how to make the hat. You may have noticed that if it all goes wrong, I have a backup plan, but I am quite keen to try and make it. It shouldn't be too difficult, hopefully. I've looked at a couple of other hat tutorials online, so really, imagining that my space button ears are going to be sort of here and here, I need to take a measure of my head around there, and then we'll do this bottom squishy part, the brim. So I'm going to have to cut out a sausage of fabric and then sew that together and then stuff it. And then the cone shape looks pretty straightforward. And again, I will stuff that up to the point where my head needs to sit in. And then what I'm just trying to figure out, because ideal world, I get the sizing right so that it sort of effectively is almost balanced in between the two space button ears. So that sort of hopefully is self-supporting. But what I'm also thinking is I'll either sew in a couple of loops underneath the brim, or I'll just cut a couple of holes where I can stick, I keep wanting to call them bobby pins. What do we call them in the UK? Hair grips. Oh my god, brain. Yeah, where I can put a couple of hair grips in to just kind of help keep that on if it doesn't wedge between the ears as nicely as I'm hoping it will. So yeah, that's it really in terms of a plan. I don't think there's going to sort of need to be any patterning or anything like that. I just kind of need to try and get the sizing right. So yes, measuring of head first, cutting out the sausage, sewing, stuffing, doing the cone shape, and then see if we can get it to stay on my head. Great times. So I'll check back in with you to let you know how I'm getting on. So it looks a bit like a nightcap right now. I think I'm probably going to pull the end in a little bit ahead of stuffing it, because yeah, it doesn't need to be quite that tall. Maybe like here, about here. Yeah, so, but the upside is it's sitting quite nicely on the head without any space buttons on either side. But obviously I haven't stuffed it yet either, or sewn any stars and whatnot on, so... the next mission then is to do the stuffing, then sew up those openings, then I'm going to do the embroidery piece on the outside with the stars and the moons and whatnot, and then we're done. Everything's all cut out, just gonna sew them on. Here it is! Can you get the full view? So I keep having to duck through doorways because the hat is just that wee bit too tall, and I can't probably make any sudden movements. I think actually I probably need someone to help me do the hair grips because it's quite actually hard to put it on and put the hair grips underneath, but that's definitely helping in terms of holding it on. I think also on the day I need to have not washed my hair that day. I'm definitely struggling to keep my ears in place, but otherwise, here I am. So I'm taking a relaxed angle so we can get the hat in shot. I spent a lot of time, oh god, I spent a lot of time making this, no sudden movements. Oh, so yeah, it's gonna come in shot. Sorry about that. So yeah, actually, do you know what? This has been quite painful in terms of length and brain power, but I think a pretty good learning experience overall. I did actually classically have a chat to my mum yesterday about sleeves, and she was saying actually the shape I'd created in the first place was fine, and I probably should have done a similar thing on the sleeves as I did with the pockets, because obviously it's kimono style sleeves and not sleeves. So she said actually they just need to stay as a rectangle, and it's probably easier if you attach the back of the rectangle to the back of the garment and the front of the rectangle to the front of the garment, and then you effectively sew this seam as you're sewing the rest of the garment together, much as I'd done with the pockets. So, doll. Lesson number 2, speak to one's mother before you do the sewing, or look up a video like I did with the pockets. In fairness, I still managed to do okay, even though I stubbornly didn't actually look anything up. I just tried to wing it. Clearly sleeves are not a thing you can wing. That's something I need to learn. I need to learn the different types of sleeves. Because to be honest, that was probably the most painful part of the main red outer bit. The toughest part of the hat was that I decided to make a donut instead of, I decided to make a stuffed donut instead of like a flat Saturn rings style shape. Because if I'd done it Saturn ring style, I basically would have made the ring first and then sewn a top and a bottom and then stuffed it. Whereas I tried to do one long sausage and then attach it, which would have been fine, except you can't turn that inside out properly, so that was a bit of an error. Plus it was a bit more difficult to attach, so I've had to do quite a bit of hand sewing on the joins of the hat, simply just because my measurements weren't quite right on the fabric, so there were a few things that were just not quite aligned. But do you know what? My first attempt at anything like this, so I'm pretty happy. I think it works as an outfit. I couldn't tell you cost-wise. I mean, actually the fabric wasn't that expensive. I purposefully bought sheeting because it was cheaper and there was lots of it, so I thought it doesn't matter if I bugger up. And I already owned the tights, I already owned the shoes. I've got a black vest top on underneath here just in case I have a flashing moment. Plus you never know how cold it's going to be when you're going elsewhere. And then the felt I already had, so that was just a case of hand sewing that on. Stuffing, I basically used a mixture of stuffing I already had, bits and bobs I had from like a shoebox. So I'd had, you know, like all the tissue paper and like the cardboard bits they have in shoeboxes. So I've actually got a bit of cardboard here and then some shoe stuffing at the top. Then this is more floofy and fabric offcuts stuffing about here, and then this is all like toy filling. So yes, sort of the more stable bit to keep the structure at the top, and then the floofier bits towards where my head is actually going to be. And I didn't end up putting anything to block the stuffing on the inside because I actually put the toy filling in the entryway, so actually that kind of keeps everything up quite nicely without anything falling out on my head. I may regret that later, I don't know. So yeah, I'm very pleased. So the next step will be wearing it to my Halloween party, which I'm looking forward to. And you'll be watching this on Halloween night itself. So I hope you've had a great Halloween. I hope you've had a lot of chocolate, because as much as we don't really celebrate Halloween that much in the UK, I still think it's a great excuse for just more chocolate and snacks and decorations and things. So I hope you've done a lot of that. If not, I hope there's just been some general merriment around where you are. So do let me know your thoughts on this video, and if you've got any suggestions as to what you think I should try next. I do think probably we're gonna go leggings, although I don't have the fabric yet, so I'm gonna have to do a bit of research to pick my fabric. And this is like where it gets hard trying to buy fabric online, because with leggings, the main thing you don't want is for it to go see-through when it stretches and be able to see your underwears. So it may be a bit trial and error finding the right fabric to do leggings, and or I may just have to accept that the leggings I make will be home leggings and not leggings that I wear out in public. Or, you know, it'll have to be mega 90s and I'll have to wear like a massive top over the top. Massive top, DMs, good to go. So yeah, thank you again for joining me on this epic journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.